afternoon, good day to our viewers here at YouTube channel and the Philippine Native Chicken Facebook page. Today, we'll be continue discussing about the topic that we have presented last week. We are begging for some apology because of the problem in terms of the technicalities in the live streaming at the YouTube. So that is why we opted to have this program be recorded and downloaded in our channel. This program is brought to you by Central Philippine University, headed by our President, Dr. Chodoro Serbles. This is your host, Dr. Jaime C. Cabalis Jr. Wishes you a good day and keep safe always. Last week, we started topic in relation to what they call the innovative farming system. So when we say about innovative farming system, we used to focus in terms of the limited farm size. Meaning when we say about limited farm size, maybe it is only less than 5,000 square meter or not more than 5,000 square meter. If you have at least 1,500, it could be a wise investment in terms of the limited farm size that we are tackling right now in this program. This is a series of presentations. We make sure that the topic that we are discussing right now is that it is in a series way whereby in every presentation that we have, because of the limited time that we have, 30 minutes presentation, we selected some of the topics that should be present, that will be presented every week of our presentation or viewing of this program. We would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our international viewers of this program. Hope that some of the learning that you can earn from this video presentation can be applicable in your place. Particularly if your country is having the same climatic condition with the Philippines. This is one way on how the College of Agriculture could extend our extension activities in behalf of this pandemic, the COVID-19. We know that the role of agriculture in terms of the economy is very critical. We should be resilient enough given that the population size that we have is keep on increasing yearly. But in terms of the area that we are planting, that is not increasing, but it is narrowing due to what they call the urbanization. That is why we used to focus on discussing topic pertinent to limited farm size. We know how costly it is to purchase land that if you wanted to do what they call the farming. And another consideration is that if you're going to buy cheaper land, the only problem is that the accessibility wise is also critical. That is why we are recommending that if you have a piece of land that is very accessible to you and accessible also to different utilities, such as electricity, irrigation, or source of water, and even the proximity to market, we are highly encouraging you to develop your land into this one. So last week, we discussed some of the introductory part of innovative farming system and limited farm size. We discussed on the why, what, how, and when in the starting of your agri enterprises. We also presented some of the major farm enterprise that you can engage from rearing of animals, aquatic animals, even forestry or trees, worms, and others. No, in order for you to select which of those enterprise that you would like to engage into. We also presented some ideas that before going to farming, preferably equip yourself with basic knowledge in venturing into farming. This is very critical, particularly to those who are OFWs working abroad, that the money that you will be using as investment should be spent wisely. There are a number of agripreneurs that started business without agribusiness without any enough preparation and landed to what they call the bankruptcy. We also shared some ideas in terms of when you will be facing some dilemma in terms of your farming. We share some thoughts coming from Sir Albert Einstein in terms of making mistakes. So that is one way and how you will be motivated and how to do your farming. Remember always that when you go into farming, it is not only because that you want to produce something or you to earn something, but there is always problem or dilemma in the farming. That is why that if you're a clever person, when you face this problem, you know on how to solve it. But if you're a wise person, you always avoid problems. We presented the three basic concepts in agribusiness, and we partly discussed about what they call the 4 A's in agribusiness. These are what they call the 4 A's in commercialized farming. First, ascertain your goal. As what we have presented last week, you must know on how to define why you go into farming. Is it for good, or just you want it as a source of food, or you may going into what they call agribusiness. It should be clear enough that if you want to go into farming, first establish in terms of your bullion production and then your estimated earning. That is one way that will guide you on the process and to do something and how to reach your goal in terms of numbers. Make sure that when you are making your goal in farming, make it smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. That is why we are suggesting that if you could give specific volume production, either it is per cropping, per month, or per year, the better it would be. So that when it comes to evaluation or to assessment, you have some baseline to assess whether you attain it or not. We also share the information that the productivity is not always equated with profitability. That is why you should also establish your estimated earning. So that is it can also be one of the baseline that you'll be using during your assessment or evaluation at the year's end. We also discusses about the assist your available resources in terms of your land, now in terms of the accessibility and appropriateness now to your proposed project. We also mentioned that if you don't have the piece of land but you have the capital, make sure that that the land that you're going to purchase is that it is most readily accessible to you, not only in terms of your mobility but even in terms of the different utilities like water, electricity, and transportation. And even the proximity of market should also be considered when you are purchasing also land. The only problem that we have if all of this accessibility is there, the problem is that the price of the land can be very high. Aside from land capital, we also discusses about what they call the human, that is in terms of your workforce in your farm. That is why we're promoting what they call limited farm size, given that the present condition right now in the Philippines, it is very difficult and expensive to hire for a farm hand. When we say about farm hand, we are referring to persons that you are going to hire when you need someone to work in your farm. But with limited area that you will be having, if you have the piece of land, you are only requiring for a fewer number of farmhand, and even your farm can be operated by your family if it is small enough or narrow enough for you to operate such kind of farm. That is what they call the beauty of farming, because if you are the owner, you are also the manager, you are the treasurer, you are the worker, and all of the above. But in some cases, you may need some assistance in terms of working in your farm. That is why that you are going to hire some farmhand to help you on the process. Aside from the two A's, we are also on the third one, what they call the agricultural commodities. When we say about agricultural commodities, it is somewhat like as what we have discussed as in the introductory part of this lecture, where you are going to invest in terms of producing crops, animals, aquatic animals, and others, and even processing and marketing of such kind of products. Make sure that when you are going to select for the commodity or the agri-enterprise that you are going to engage, make sure that it is of your great interest. Otherwise, if you're going to select projects or agri-commodities or agri-enterprise that is not of your interest, it may affect the total operation of your farm. Number of farmers become successful because they started their farming business out of their hobby. If your hobby is to plant ornamental crops, flowers, maybe you go into a business of what they call landscaping. The beauty of landscaping right now, because it is not only limited among flowering plants or leafy plants, but it is also in terms that venturing into what they call the edible landscaping. When we say about edible landscaping, instead of planting flowers, they are planting tomatoes, pizza, lettuce, and others that can be processed in your kitchen or be consumed in your table. That is, if your interest is more on the beautification of the environment or your backyard or surroundings. And make sure that if your interest is in that commodity, make sure to find the market. Otherwise, if you don't know where to market your product, you keep on producing and producing, and now what will happen to your final product if you don't have the market? And also make sure that you have the data in terms of the price trends of such kind of product. So we may say about price trend, it may refer from a monthly basis of pricing of such product in the market. At least you will already have the idea when to plant and how many plant that you are going to plant, whereby it can produce the specific volume needed by the market, so that you can also increase the level of profitability and productivity in your farm. And the last A is in terms of the acquisition of learning. You can attend training and seminar if you have the idea where these seminars and trainings are conducted. Make sure to select the topic that you wanted to have before going into registrations. Possibly, if you could ask the possible topic within that seminar, it would be better, so that you already have the idea of what will happen during the seminar. However, because of the pandemic, the problem is that there might be a limited face-to-face seminar and training being conducted not only in the Philippines but even in other part of the globe. But with the e-connectivity, like what we are doing right now, presenting some techniques in farming, now you can get some ideas in terms of what they call the accession to the e-media. If you know some farm, you can have you can set appointment to the owners if you could do what they call the farm visit or tour. Make sure that if you go into this kind of farming or activities, or you have selected enterprise, make sure that if you can have some template. When we say about template, if you can visit some farm doing the same activity, the better it will be. The very difficult way to the most difficult part of farming is on how to start. That is why that if you know some farm, it would be nice if you can contact the owner or the operator and then set appointment to have a farm visit. Remember always that learning is an expensive commodity in farming. Why it is called as expensive commodity? Because once you are not well equipped in terms of the technology or the packages of technology, it may lead into something losses or what they call bankruptcy if that is not implemented properly. You could not depend totally in the consultant in the operation of your farm. Your consultant may come and go. So it would be nice if you first equip yourself before hiring consultant if you would like for a mentoring purposes, but in terms of the operation, make sure that you have the enough knowledge to implement in your farm. For some who are afraid of risk, remember always this tip. Now we borrowed from Jack Ma. Risk is the price you pay for what they call opportunity. Jack Ma mentioned that opportunity lies in the place where the complaints are. Meaning that if there is a problem or there are problem, there is an opportunity behind every problem. It is upon us to determine or to dissect the reality and find the opportunity behind those problems. Number two, if you don't give up, you still have the chance. Giving up is the greatest failure. Like what we mentioned last week, that once you started in agriculture, particularly if you have selected the commodities that you would like to venture, there is what they call the point of no return when you already invested large sum of your investment. That is why, and the third, put the customer first, the employee second, and the shareholder on the third. That is why if you can find or identify your market where to sell your product, the better it will be before going into that kind of enterprise. Number four, if you've never tried, how will you ever know if there is any chance? That is why that we mentioned earlier in the 4A's that if you know some farm operating the selected community that you have, or maybe almost near or similar to the community that you have selected, make sure to visit that farm before trying something. That is one way on how you can get ideas in operating such farm, so that if the owner or the operator can share some constraints that you have encountered during the implementation, it will be your guide before implementing your own. Remember that look at challenges at what they call opportunities. As you are implementing your project, there are a lot of challenges that you will be encountering along the way. It may range from your personal, market, operations, and capital, and others. The experience that others have had shared to you may not be same as you are, but at least you already have the idea as to what to do. Remember this, always look those challenges as an opportunity. In the field of agriculture, we are not competing each other, but we are complete. What we are doing is that we are complementing each other. The population is keep on increasing, but the area planted with commodities or raised by animals and other commodity are narrowing due to what they call urbanization. The demand of food is positively correlated with the increases in population. That is why as our population increases, our requirement for food also increases. And number six, forget about your competitor, just focus on your customers as what we have mentioned. And the last one, as Jack Ma shared to us, go big or go home. Otherwise, you are wasting your youth. I remembered one of my friend owning a large company telling me that if you are going to raise 10 heads of chicken, you are going to employ same time and effort and maybe resources with 10. Why not have it raised into 1,000? That fits in with what they call the idea and the last idea Jack Ma had shared to us. But don't forget to take care also of yourself, particularly your health. Steve Jobs shared that the most expensive bed in the world is the hospital bed. That is why going into what they call the agri enterprises, make sure that you'll be producing a healthy food not only for the community but particularly for your family. Those are what they call the 4 A's in agriculture. Now, the next part of our discussion will be focusing on the science, business, and art, no, in agribusiness. If you found our program informative, please like, subscribe, and share this channel to those whom you know we can be of help. To our subscriber, the Philippine Chicken channel would like to extend our gratitude to all of you for following our channel, not only in the YouTube but even in the Facebook. Thank you very much. This is what they call the science in farming. That is why in the 4 A's that we mentioned earlier, you should ascertain your goal, but make sure that what you are doing, there is always science behind it. In a limited area, we are always promoting what they call diversification or integration of your commodities within that limited areas. The diversification, intensification, integration of all agricultural commodities must be based with science to ensure greater level of success. Please take note that in farming, if you are going to account your production, it is only about 40% of what you are producing actually can be consumed or can be marketed. Those 60%, if you are not keen enough, go into what they call agricultural waste. For example, if you are planting rice, now the most edible part that can be produced is only the kernel of your rice. Your waste product are the straw, your rice hull, and some of the wastage due to harvesting. In terms of your rice middlings and rice bran, it can be used as feed to your animals. And one way to increase your income in a limited area, make sure that integration and diversification should be done properly. The resiliency in agriculture is always lying in terms of what they call diversification. That is why that if you are planting rice, if possible, you can identify if you can do what they call integration, for example, of rice, African hito, tilapia, or you can have also ducks and other animals along the way. One of the pests that can be very disastrous and can bring economic losses in planting rice is the golden cohol, or what they call the golden apple snail. It is a very voracious eater of seedlings of rice. Not only seedlings, but even the mature one, no, particularly if the golden apple is mature already. And one way to control the golden apple snail effectively, if you can raise ducks, no, along with your rice, the better it will be. So that if you have the ducks, you have the daily supply of egg for your family. Try to select the duck that is called categorized under what they call the tractor ducks. Productivity wise, it might not be as high as those in the hybridized duck, but in terms of using it as a biocontrol for golden cohol and other insects in your rice plant, it is very effective. Aside from that, the waste of your ducks can be used as fertilizer for your rice plant. If you want to raise, for example, tilapia, you have what they call the gift tilapia, or the one that is grayish in color, and there is also what they call the red tilapia. Because there are two major breeds of tilapia. The one is the gray one or the black one, and the other one is what they call the red tilapia. What is the difference between the African hito and then the tilapia per se? The African hito can be considered as carnivorous, whereas the red tilapia is herbivore in nature. If you are planting, for example, along the rice varieties, you can also raise what they call the tilapia, whereby in just 3 months' time, you can harvest your tilapia along with your rice. So if you have the azolla also in your area, the azolla can be the source of the azolla, or what they call is a nitrogen fixing plant, whereby they can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. This can be used by your plants as their nutrient for the nutrient requirement. At the same time, some of the azolla can be used as feed for your tilapia. However, if you are integrating, for example, animals in your farm, you can raise also, or you can, instead of tilapia, you can raise what they call African hito, no, in place of tilapia. So that whenever there is what they call mortality due to diseases or infection, do not throw it or have it be buried, but make sure to have it be given as feed to your African hito. But if you are doing this, so make sure that the African heat that when you're planting rice, make sure that it is a transplanted one, not a broadcasted one. because when you transplant rice, there is what they call a space requirement that will allow for the flow for the movement of your African hito or tilapia and also your ducks. And when you harvest your rice, do not throw or burn your rice straw, but make sure it can be used for another form of enterprise. You can have it be processed into what we call for the mushroom production. The ideal strain of mushroom that can be grown in the rice straw is what they call the Bulbarilla bulbaceae. If you're familiar with button mushroom, the button mushroom is one of the product of the Bulbarilla bulbaceae. And once your mushroom is already, once you process the rice through for the production of mushroom, after then you can process your rice through into what they call the vermiculture. Because it is already partially decomposed, you can add some substrate like mud press, no, and some leguminous crop mixed with it, and have it be mixed thoroughly and introduce what they call the African night crawler to produce what they call the vermicast. With this, you will be already producing what they call organic fertilizer for your crops. At the same time, you are producing extra vermicast, a vermiworm that can be used as feed for your animals. In the production of your vermicast, you can add some of the decomposed rice hull that you have, or maybe you can have your rice hull be processed into what they call carbonized rice hull. But the rice hull itself, if you don't want it to be processed into carbonized rice hull, you can use it as a litter material for your animals. If you have the ducks, make sure that the flooring of their housing should be poured with the fresh rice hull. The purpose of this rice hull is not to make the place not to become muddy. At the same time, it could be a better place where your ducks could lay their eggs. The mixture of the excreta or the waste of your ducks along with the rice hull, during the decomposition, it is a very good substrate along with your rice straw planted with mushroom to process into what they call the vermiculture. The rice bran that you have can be used as feed for your ducks along with your mealings. This is leading into what they call the zero waste farming. Remember that when we are engaging in farming, as what we have mentioned, that the waste product out of 100% that we are producing out of rice, only 40% of it can be processed and edible for marketing. So that is why once you process that waste product as input into another enterprise, as what we have discussed as earlier, that it's somewhat like you don't have any waste in your farm. You turn your waste into another form or product and thereby deriving income out of it. This will lead into what they call a very sustainable farming system, now whereby the waste of the other is used as an input in other enterprise. It is very common for us, to those who are engaging in farming, that they use farming as a way of life and not as a business. If you opted to have the farm just only for the source of your household consumption, you may not need to attend trainings or search for any information on how to make your farm productive and profitable. However, if the concept of putting up a farming is to go into business, make sure that all the necessary requirements must be on hand before implementing your selected enterprise. Make sure to treat farming as a business and not as a way of life. Because when we treat it as a business, the bottom line or the profit line is very critical always for us. There might be challenges along the way as we implementing our project, but remember always what Jack Ma mentioned, that treat challenges as an opportunities. If we integrated already science and business and farming, the other one is what they call the art and farming. That is why if you have the project, make sure that before, if you have the land already, you have the idea. Now, if you can do what they call the concept behind what they call the farmscaping. When we say about farmscaping, it is also similar with landscaping, only that in a farmscaping, we are dealing with wider areas. At the same time, we are looking into the different commodities that we are planning to implement, or we are going to raise it or to grow in our farm. The location where you're going to plant your crops or to put up the housing of your animal is very critical. For example, once you planted your mango, you could not easily uproot it when it is already 5 years, because you realize that the place where you plant your mango is not ideal place for such kind of plants. It is very easy to erase some of the concept in the paper, but it is very difficult to uproot or to remove something in the land once you already have established it for years. Remember that the aesthetic value of the farm encourages or motivates agripreneurs to do more in the respective farm. Even though that we are motivating to have a profitable farm, but if you could do with aesthetic value, the better it will be, because once you are inspired by your farm, the number of hours that you are staying in a farm is longer than if a farm is not a well-planned farm. When you are doing what they call your farmscaping, remember always to take consider the place or the east portion and the west portion of your land in the planting of your crops or in putting up the houses for your animals. There are some variety of crops that requires limited time of exposure to sunlight, but there are also some agricultural crops that requires almost 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. The role of sunlight not only in plants but even animals, that is also very critical. That is why that when you are constructing the housing of your animals, make sure that it had the access to natural daylight. The wind direction is also very critical. That is why that in areas or tropical countries like the Philippines, remember always that during the time the northeast direction of wind, northeast to southwest direction of wind produces stronger typhoon than those wind direction that from the southwest to northeast. Otherwise, the orientation of grouping, if you miss this kind of ideas or concept, no, it is very vulnerable to distractions once there is what they call the typhoon. That is why in areas with stronger typhoon, they are planting what they call wind breakers in the boundaries. That is one way on how to slow down the possible effect of wind during or at the time when there is what they call a strong typhoon. The source of water is also very critical. That is why that when you identify the land before doing what they call the farmscaping, make sure that you lay out first or you plant first some crops that require more water near to your water source and looking into some crops that require less water away a little bit away from the source of your irrigation water. That is why that when you are doing what they call farmscaping, there are various articles discussing about what they call the farmscaping, and that is one way on how you can make or you can have bring aesthetic value or art in your farming. And make sure that when you're doing farming, always remember this. God in farming, don't forget these verses in implementing your what they call the agri-business. When you says, I can't figure it out, he may says, I will direct your steps. Na from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6. When you say, I am too tired, he says, I will give you rest from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. When challenges comes, and when you say, it is impossible, he may says, all things are possible. Na in Luke 1, verses 8 to Luke 18, verses 27. These are the different verses that you can reflect on when you are facing some challenges, and some of the motivational quotes as what we have presented in the early part of our program. However, because of the limited time that we have, now we already have presented the two major concepts in agribusiness. And the next time that we'll be presenting, by next week, we'll be presenting what they call the purpose in the agricultural products. If you found our channel informative, please subscribe, share, and follow this page if you found it to be informative. You can click the bell button so that every time that we are downloading some of the videos that we produces here at CPU College of Agriculture, Resources, and Environmental Sciences, you will be immediately notified about those videos. By next week, we'll be seeing again for some of the continuation of our lecture on what they call the innovative farming system in a limited farm size. To those who would like to enroll in Central Philippine University, the CPO right now will be going to accept enrollee in the first semester. Starting this June, please please visit our website, the cpu.edu.ph. The mode of teaching that we'll be implementing this school year will be more on what they call the online learning. So meaning the lessons that we'll be presenting or we'll be discussing in every courses that we have, it will be done through online. To our OFWs that would like to enroll in agriculture via online learning, the next meeting that we will be having by next week, we will be presenting some of the processes and how you are going to enroll at the CPU College of Agriculture, Resources, and Environmental Sciences. We are offering 3 major courses. We have what they call the Bachelor of Science in Agrobiosystem Engineering, that is previously known as BS in Agricultural Engineering. At CPU, we already produces number of top-notchers in the Ag Inc. board exams. And we have what they call the higher percentage of passing. Now, higher percentage compared to the national passing percentage when it comes to our student who took the board exam. We are also offering what they call the BS Environmental Management, where it used to focus on what they call imparting learning experience among students who would like to go into what they call the to care for our environment. Remember always that the balance of environment is very critical when it comes to agriculture. And the last one, we have what they call the BS in agriculture. We are following what they call the general curriculum for our BS in agriculture. And the CPU College of Agriculture is one of the 10 Center of Excellence for Agriculture Education in the country. For more information, you can visit our website www.cpu.edu.ph for more information. In behalf of our President, University President, Dr. Teodoro Cerebles, this is your host, Dr. Jaime C. Cabeles Jr. would like to express our gratitude to all of our followers and subscribers for keep on tuning in to our channel. Hope that by next week, Now we'll be meeting again for other episode of this other of our lecture series. Again, good day and keep safe always.